Hello soldiers, how are you all? So in this video lecture, we are going to start with a new accounting standard, which is last accounting standard under first set of accounting standards. So after this, we are going to start with a new chapter that is not at all related to an accounting standard. If you check our index, so in index here, there under first set of accounting standards up to 2A to 2F, that is from AS20 to AS7. Those are the first set of accounting standards. Then we are starting with a new chapter, that is amalgamation of companies. This is the end of first set of accounting standards. Then after seeing few chapters, like big chapters like amalgamation, reconstruction, and liquidation of companies, then we will start second set of accounting standards. Okay, right guys, come back to the title of AS7, which is page number 48, right? Just a moment. Yes guys, come on all. So now the existing accounting standard is AS7 construction contracts. Come here all of you. First, let me give introduction part related to AS7 construction contracts. Then we will entering into our text as per our material. So the first thing we are going to discuss related to introduction. Okay. Sir, in this introduction, what you are going to discuss? I already told you both AS9 as well as AS7, both the standards are related to revenue recognition only. Both the standards are discussed about revenue recognition. In specifically in AS9, we already read revenue recognition related to construction contracts. AS9 doesn't applicable. Under one of the exception, we already read that for revenue recognition related to construction contracts, AS9 applicable. Which standard is applicable? AS7 construction contracts. How in generally the construction contracts are happen in practically? First, let us check guys. For example, Telangana government prestigiously want to build the metro train, you know, which is Hyderabad Metro Rail Corporation, which is subsidiary of L&T as well as a joint venture with the state government of Telangana. Okay, now here the customer is Telangana government. The customer is Telangana government. And the project in generally, the project who took in Hyderabad for the purpose of construction of metro trail was L&T. You know, the full form of L&T is Lastron and Turbo, which is a giant construction company. Almost the place in the worldwide is which the worldwide is there in the Fortune 500 companies, and which is almost having a high turnover among all the Indian construction companies. Okay, so which actually the practically already construction happen. Still in some more areas the construction is going on. Okay, now let us check guys, all of you. I'm talking about phase number 1. What happened? The agreement in between L&T and the Telangana government is they have to construct metro train. They have to construct metro. Sir, now such metro includes railway lines, such metro includes the railway stations, such metro includes electrical paths and all other stuff which is form part of railway transportation. Is it okay, guys? All of you? Now, to complete this entire metro project, L&T took almost 5 years. You know, the first phase itself, started in the year 2015, which was ended nearly in the year 2019 or 2020 or 2020. Let me put the 2020. So almost it took 5 years. Now, for the purpose of making the entire construction, L&T will receive certain amount from the Telangana government. So for L&T, the expenditure incurred to construct the metro, and for L&T, the revenue is which actually amount to be recoverable from the Telangana government, which is nothing but revenue. Sir, then what is the peculiar thing here? Why there is a necessity to introduction as a separate accounting standard, even though AS9 is there, which is actually they are providing the service of construction, they are getting the money. Then what is the peculiar thing exist here? The peculiar thing is here, the construction was not completed in a single year. In generally, in case of construction contracts or the construction projects, the construction is going to occur. Construction is continued for greater than 1 year. Definitely, construction is continued for greater than 1 year in case of construction contracts. As like the classic example itself is metro, Hyderabad metro, or any metro you can take. Now the problem is, unless otherwise, if I completed the contract, then only I can know the actual profit or loss recovered, the actual profit or loss arised due to this project. Unless otherwise this project not yet completed, I am not in a situation to calculate the profit or loss derived from this project. Am I right or wrong? Tell me, guys. Due to the nature of the business, even it took more than 5 months. That means at the end of the 5th year only, I can clearly know that how much profit or loss I really enjoyed due to such project known to the L&T. But for the purpose of accounting treatment, for the purpose of reporting for each and every year, you can't wait till the end of the 5th year, right? You can't wait till the end of the 2020 year, right? From the year of beginning, that is from the first financial year of beginning itself, you should report how much profit or loss derived from such contract for the purpose of reporting purpose. That is the peculiar thing actually happened in case of construction contracts. That means the total revenue, which in generally termed as contract revenue, the total revenue, which is the total contract revenue, how you are allocating not only the contract revenue and contract expenses, that is the total contract expenses, contract revenue and contract expenses, how we should allocate or apportion different accounting periods. The total contract revenue and contract expenses related to a specific construction contract, how we are going to allocate among different accounting periods is the major matter of discussion here, guys. That is the reason for introduction of accounting standard 7 as well. which is not a general type of revenue. In general, in case of sale of goods, in a single year itself, the transaction at a single point of time, it will be over. In case of services also, most of the services are completed within an year itself. But here, coming to the construction contract, the service period itself is continued for more than 1 year, and it will carry for number of years. Then how you can recognize the revenue related to a particular year, how you can recognize the contract cost related to that particular period is a matter of discussion majorly. You know the total contract revenue, you know the total estimated contract cost. I'm not telling the actual contract cost. At the beginning of the project itself, you know the total contract revenue, you know the total estimated contract cost. But the thing is how you can apportion the contract revenue and contract expenses, which is nothing but contract cost related to a specific accounting period, is the matter of discussion here. So that means this standard is introduced for the purpose of providing accounting treatment related to contract revenue and contract expenses with respect to a construction contract. Am I right? So the same thing actually there were discussed in the objective. So the introduction where I discussed, the same thing is there under objective. So that's why I can put it as an introduction, or you can term it as a objective as well, or you can term it as a objective. So which slightly refined version of things were given in objective. So let us read the objective clearly. The objective of this standard is to prescribe the accounting treatment of revenue and costs associated with construction contract. This standard is introduced for the purpose of providing the accounting treatment of revenue as well as costs associated with construction contracts. The primary issue in accounting for construction contract is the allocation of contract revenue and contract cost to the accounting periods in which construction work is performed. The same thing here I discussed. The major discussion is how you are allocating contract revenue and contract cost to different accounting periods is the major discussion we are discussing in this standard. That is the reason actually a separate accounting standard is introduced, even though AS9 revenue recognition is exist. Now got my point, guys? Okay. Now hope you understand the reason behind the introduction of AS7 construction contract. Next, one more thing, coming to the scope. Okay, sir, scope also I'm going to explain from the objective itself. Consider all of you. The same example I want to take here, that is in the scope. Now the first and foremost question I'm asking here, sir, is this standard is applicable to L&T or Telangana government? AS7 construction contract is applicable in the books of L&T, Laston and Turbo, or in the books of Telangana government. L&T is a contractor. L&T is a contractor. Telangana government is a customer. You can call it as a contractee or customer. Both the names synonymously we are using. Sir, which contractor he is? He is a construction contractor. He is a construction contractor. Now, AS7 is applicable in the books of L&T only. That is contractor books only AS7 is applicable. But in the books of the customer, which standard is applicable, that is depending upon their nature. For example, if it is fixed asset or if it is property, plant and equipment to the customer, then AS10 is applicable. Sir, if it is stock in trade, to the Telangana government, then AS2 inventory valuation is applicable. Tell me, guys. So that's why this standard is only applicable. AS7 is only applicable. In contractor books. Is only applicable in contractor books. Okay, so let us discuss about the scope here. This standard should be applied in accounting for construction contracts in the financial statements of contractors. This standard is not applicable to contractee. In contractee books, either AS10 is applicable or AS2 is applicable according to the nature of the business. So this is all about the scope as well as objective. Next, let us discuss about the definition, guys, here. So you know the standard setting up procedure, that is the standard which we in generally which will it covers, that is objective, then scope, then definitions, then remaining all aspects, that is recognition, measurement, presentation, disclosure. Now we covered out of which objective and scope. Now we are at the definition. So in the definitions, what we are seeing here, construction contract. What is the meaning of construction contract? Construction contract is a contract specifically negotiated for the construction of an asset or a combination of assets that are closely interrelated or interdependent in terms of their design, technology, function, or their ultimate purpose or use. So what he is telling, just a moment. Yeah, here it is there. So he is defining what is the meaning of construction contract. What is the meaning of construction contract? Construction contract, it is a contract. It is a contract related to construction. It is a contract related to construction. So related to construction of a single asset, related to construction of a single asset, or maybe related to construction of group of assets, group of assets. So which is related to construction of a single asset or group of assets. And such group of assets are either interrelated or interdependent, which are interrelated or interdependent. So that means which are having some connection, interrelated or interdependent in terms of their design, in terms of design, in terms of uses, in terms of their function, in terms of their technology, etc. So just I'm giving some examples here. So construction contract is a contract related to the construction of a single asset, maybe construction of a dam, maybe construction of a bridge, or maybe construction related to group of assets. Group of assets means construction of a plant, construction of a factory, which having so many in the factory construction, so many you might construct. That is, you may construct buildings, you may put the machinery into the such buildings. For that purpose, you may give different structures. Then internally roads also you may build. Tell me guys, big boilers also you may build, big chain system you may build. Okay, apart from the factory buildings, you may build certain other buildings which are useful for the purpose of employees, that is administration activities. Such all things you have to build, which is form and parcel of the plant. So such a group of assets are interrelated or interdependent in terms of their design, their uses, or their function, their technology. Then such contract is technically known as construction contract. So which is a construction of single asset? Consider all of you. Already I read the definition. Now I am discussing the notes related to the definition. So construction contract related to a construction of a single asset such as bridge, building, dam, pipeline, road, ship, or tunnel. That means construction means not only the construction of the building, it includes all bridge, dams, pipelines, roads, ships. Construction of ship is also coming under this act, this category only. Tunnels, okay. While going to the caves, actually big tunnels will coming, right? So all those are not tunnels, okay. Actually, one big tunnel also constructed by the Indian government recently, which is actually very big tunnel, which is nearby Kashmir, I think so. Okay, just a second. So if you check, the tunnel is there in Kashmir or Himachal Pradesh, I think so, nearby. Just a moment, I'll check here. Biggest tunnel in India. Yeah, it is there. If you check, it is the India's longest road tunnel with a length of 9.28 kilometers and the country's first tunnel with a fully integrated tunnel control system. So location Jammu and Kashmir. If you check here, Jammu and Kashmir, it was there. The images also, if you want to see, so which is the biggest tunnel, guys. So like this tunnel construction is also form part of construction activities only. Okay, so all are happening in and around only. So just we have to connect the things which actually there in our books. Okay, let it be. Construction contract is related to a construction of bridges or buildings or dams or pipelines, roads, ships or tunnel, whatever the case may be. You know, in Telangana, the biggest dam is, I think so, which is, you know, right? What is that biggest project, water project dam? Kaleshwaram project, guys. So the Telangana government is prestigiously done the project of Kaleshwaram, which is also the construction related activities only, which is construction of dams. If you want to check here, the Kaleshwaram project is here. So these are the pics related to Kaleshwaram project, which is actually a very big project. So which is a lift irrigation scheme, which is the technology is a little bit different. Lift irrigation means which actually uh, different from the normal dams. Okay, let it be. I don't want to here explain what is the difference between normal dams and lift irrigation systems and all such things. So just I am giving a classic example for the purpose of construction of a single assets. Apart from this, construction contract may also deal with the construction of a number of assets which are closely interrelated and interdependent in terms of their design, technology, function, or the uses. So for such certain examples, just they are giving construction of refineries. Refineries means just they will extract the petroleum resources, or they will refine the oils. Okay, such all things are other complex pieces of plant or equipment. So which in generally inclusive of interrelated things. If I show some certain refineries, then you can easily understand. Okay. So refined projects. So you can check here, guys, how much giant it is. Jamnagar oil refinery, which is actually Jamnagar oil refinery. So too much of complex, which are actually a construction project, which completely interrelated and interconnected of so many other assets. So whatever the pick you can check, all are joint operations, all are joint assets. Okay. So which is in generally happening in case of very complex case of plants. Okay, come back. So that means now you can easily understand that construction activity is very bigger, not like you assumed, which is not as simple like construction of a single buildings, which are construction of dams, bridges, tunnels, and the complex thing like refineries and all such are form part of construction activities. Sir, why I showed all such things? Your perception about the construction activity should change after seeing all such things, which is a very bigger industry. So that's why that is the reason why a separate accounting standard is introduced by the accounting standard board to cover all such things. Next, for the purpose of this standard, construction contracts also include. Construction contracts is not only the construction of assets, but also include contracts for the rendering of services which are directly related to the construction of asset. For example, those for the services of project managers and architects. For example, L&D is there. For certain projects, L&D only they can give the designs. They will charge the huge amount from the customers. They will not construct. So they are providing the architect services. So certain industries, what they will provide, they will give certain project managers for the purpose of construction. They are highly talented, or they are having a good exposure in the construction industry. Those entities which provide those services which are directly related to the construction is also form part of the construction contracts, is also form part of the construction contracts. Contracts for destruction or restoration of assets and the restoration of the environment following the demolition of assets are also form part of the construction contracts. So what he's indirectly telling, for example, if you want to build something, first that place should be vacant, right? So if somewhere some building is there, or some forest is there, or something which is not in reasonable condition to construct such an asset, then first you have to make a demolish or the destruction. Such you can entering into the contract for the purpose of destruction of the assets as well. Such destruction is also form part of the construction contracts. Restoration of assets and the restoration of the environment. What he is telling, for example, in certain industries, how it will be, you are using for a certain purpose. So once the purpose was over, then you have to restore. For example, how I can tell, you are extracting the oil resources, petroleum oil resources from the sea bed. You are almost at the middle of the sea. So once if your extraction activities were completed, then you have to restore the seabed to protect the environment entirely. To restoration of the seabed means the oil which was completely spread over the area which is nearby the entire extraction area, right? So what you have to do, you have to restore by mixing with some chemicals, by mixing with something into the water. Then all the oil which was already mixed up with the water was separated. Then you have to do all such activities, which is nothing but restoration of assets as well as restoration of the environment. All such things are also form part of the construction activities. That means construction means not only the pure construction, which also includes direct services which interconnected with the construction contracts, as well as construction of demolition and construction of restoration is also form part of construction contracts. Okay, just a moment, guys. So now here, even though construction contract definition just he told only the construction contract is contract related to the construction, but it also includes two things, guys. It also includes, what are those two things? Direct services related to contracts. So that is architect services and all such services. And one more thing, so construction contract is also includes destruction or demolition, destruction or demolish, and restoration as well. These all are form part of construction contracts only. So just now we discussed only the reason for introduction of AS7, that is mainly how the contract revenue and the contract cost should be spread over the number of years, that is number of accounting periods, and in which books it is applicable, and what is the meaning of exact construction contract. Just now we saw through different examples. Then coming to the types of construction contracts, how in generally the contract will be entered in between the contractor as well as the contractee. That is nothing but types of construction contracts. Fixed price contract, cost plus contract. Sir, what is the difference between fixed price contract and cost plus contract? All of you please check here. And one more thing, sir, why actually we have to learn about the types of the contract? I will explain why you have to learn the types of contract as well. Why you have to know how many types of contracts are available. So based on that, certain provisions were designed in AS7. That is the reason why we are learning the types of contracts as well. Okay, first let me discuss about the types of contract, then I will discuss all the issues. So types of contract. So there are two types exist. What are those two types? One is fixed price contract. Another one is cost plus contract. One is fixed price contract. Another one is cost plus contract. Sir, in case of the fixed price contract price will be decided at the inception of the contract itself. At the inception. Inception means initial time of the contract itself. But in case of cost plus contract, how the contract price will be derived? Contract price is equal to contract cost plus percentage of profit on such contract cost. So that means we can't tell the entire contract price at the inception of the contract itself. So on the basis of occurrence of the contract cost, if you add certain percentage of profit, then you will get a contract price. And one more thing, just I'm asking you, hope you already known such things about escalation clauses. You already learned in a separate paper, which is in costing. I think so, paper number 3, right? Paper number 3 in your group 1. So escalation clauses, is it applicable to in case of fixed price contract or cost plus contract? Escalation clauses means if at any point of time, if there is increase in the raw material cost or labor cost, then customer will reimburse such amount to the extent of the increase in the prices. Okay, that is up to some extent, no need to reimburse. If such prices are increased above that, then as per the clause mentioned in the contract, the customer should be compensated such amount to the contractor. So escalation clauses, is it applicable in case of fixed price contract or cost plus contract? So cost plus contract means I don't mind about the cost of the materials or the cost of the labor or the increase in prices. If such prices are increases, then the contract price will also increases. Why? Because contract price inclusive of contract cost here. But here the contract price was fixed at the inception itself. That's why escalation clause is applicable only here. Escalation clause is applicable in case of fixed price contracts. Escalation clause is applicable in case of fixed price contracts as well. Now let us read briefly about the fixed price contract and cost plus contract as per our text in the material. Fixed price contract is a construction contract in which the contractor agrees to a fixed contract price or at a fixed rate per unit of output, which in some cases is subject to cost escalation clauses, which is subject to escalation clause as well. Cost plus contract is a construction contract in which the contractor is reimbursed for all allowable or otherwise defined cost plus percentage of this cost at a fixed fee as a profit. That is nothing but cost plus contract. So in generally, if contractor don't want to reveal how much profit he is enjoying, then he will always entering the fixed price contract. He will not enter the cost plus contract. But if certain contractors who don't want to take the risk of raw material, if the other party is not agreeing for the escalation clause, then people are obviously choosing the cost plus contracts only. But if the other party is agreeing for the escalation clause as well, then fixed price contract is also better, not a problem. Okay, next point, guys. All of you please concentrate. Sir, in the introduction, at the time of dealing objective or introduction, I put one question mark, right? That is the main reason for introduction of AS7 is allocation of contract revenue for different accounting periods. Now you may have a doubt that, sir, how the entire accounting revenue is spread over the different accounting periods. At that point of time itself, the doubt may arise. Now I'm answering for such doubt here, guys. So how contract revenue recognized. First I'm talking about the contract revenue. Sir, why I'm not talking about contract cost? How much contract cost I have to recognize in the current year? That is the actual contract cost. The actual cost you incurred in a specific accounting year, you can recognize as an expenditure. But in case of contract revenue, not like that. So how much contract revenue you can recognize in a particular year, in a particular accounting period? Contract revenue recognized in a particular accounting period is completely based on percentage of completion. Percentage of completion, which is also known as percentage of completion method. So what is this all about? Percentage of completion method. All of you please concentrate. Contract revenue to be recognized in a particular accounting period, we should recognize on the basis of percentage of completion. That is, if 50% is completed in the first year, out of the total contract revenue, you can recognize the 50% in the current accounting year. For example, 30% is only completed in the current year, then you can recognize out of the total revenue 30% in the particular accounting period. But the next question coming into your mind is, sir, how to calculate the percentage of completion? How to calculate the percentage of completion? Am I right? So please let us put a pending for some time how to calculate the percentage of completion. Before that, I'm telling you when I can apply the percentage of completion method. First, I will tell you when you can apply the percentage of completion method for the purpose of calculation of the contract revenue or for the purpose of recognition of the contract revenue in a particular accounting period. If you are following the fixed price contract method, when you can apply the percentage of completion method, first I will discuss. After that, if you are following the cost plus contract, when you can apply the percentage of completion method, later we will discuss. So once the discussion is over, then I will tell you how to calculate the percentage of completion. All of you please be with me. First we are seeing when such percentage of completion we can apply both in case of fixed price and cost plus contracts. Sir, if percentage of completion method is not applicable, then how we are going to calculate the contract revenue also we will see. I told you here in which circumstances we can apply the percentage of completion method. If percentage of completion method is fails, that means we are unable to apply the percentage of completion method. Then how you should recognize the contract revenue also I will discuss. Concentrate all of you. Percentage of completion method. Construction contracts are mostly long term. That is, they take more than one accounting year to complete. This means the final outcome, profit or loss of a construction contract can be determined only after a number of years from the year of commencement of construction are over. That means simply at the end of the construction only the outcome, the final outcome, whether you derived profit or loss from such contract, you can really know. It is nathless possible to recognize the revenue annually in proportion of progress of work to be matched with the corresponding construction cost incurred in that year. It is nathless means even though the construction contract takes more than a year, or even though the construction contract is in long term, it is possible to recognize revenue annually in proportion of progress of work to be matched with the corresponding construction cost. We can easily recognize the profit or loss related to a particular accounting period by matching the revenue and by matching the contract cost related to a specific period. This method of accounting is called the stage of completion method. Sir, how much revenue you have to recognize in a particular accounting period is depending upon the progress of work done. 30% of the work done, 40% of the work done over. That means you can recognize the 40% of the revenue, which is nothing but stage of completion method, which is percentage of completion method. How much stage you completed. Okay. Coming here, all of you. Next, I'm not discussing about how to calculate that percentage of completion. Next, I'm going to discuss AS7 prescribes that percentage of completion method should not be used unless it is possible to make a reasonable estimate of the final outcome of the contract. So now I told you, right, sir, when you have to apply the percentage of completion method, when you cannot apply the percentage of completion method, when we can follow, when we can follow, when we cannot follow. Now consider all of you. When I can apply, when we can apply percentage of completion method, if we can reasonably estimate the outcome of the contract, then you can apply the percentage of completion method. When we cannot apply, if we unable to estimate outcome of the contract. So these are very, very important. Not simply you can directly apply the percentage of completion for the purpose of recognition of the contract revenue. You don't know how to calculate the percentage of completion. Till now, I didn't discuss anything. But before going to such level, first I am discussing when we can apply the percentage of completion. When you are reasonably estimate the outcome of the contract. So outcome means, do you know what is the meaning of outcome? Outcome means profit or loss. Profit or loss. Right now itself, if you can reasonably estimate how much profit or loss you can derive from that contract, if you can reasonably estimate the profit or loss which you are going to derive from the contract, then you can apply the percentage of completion method. Otherwise we cannot apply the percentage of completion. The same thing he is mentioning. A7 prescribes that percentage completion method should not be used unless it is possible to make a reasonable estimate of the final outcome of the contract. A reasonable estimate of the final outcome of the contract. The outcome is a final outcome of the contract. If you can reasonably estimate, then you can apply. Otherwise, you should not apply. The next question coming into your mind is, when we can reasonably estimate profit or loss of the contract, when we cannot reasonably estimate, when we can reasonably estimate, when we cannot reasonably estimate. Concentrate. The outcome of a fixed price contract can be estimated reliably when all the following conditions are satisfied. If all the below conditions are satisfied, then you can treat that the final outcome of the contract is known to us. That is the profit or loss derived from the contract we can reasonably estimate. Total contract revenue can be measured reliably. Sir, what is the meaning of contract profit or loss? First, I will tell you. Sir, here the contract profit or loss is nothing but the difference between contract revenue and a contract cost. I'm talking about the profit or loss. Profit or loss is nothing but total contract revenue and a total contract cost associated with a contract. The difference is nothing but profit or loss. Now, when you can reliably estimate the outcome of the contract, if you know the contract revenue and if you know the contract cost. Am I right? So that's why in point number 1, he is telling the total contract revenue can be measured reliably. Okay. Next, one more thing, guys. In point number 3, just I'm skipping point number 2. Just I'm going to point number 3. Both the contract cost to complete the contract. If you know the contract cost to complete the contract, which is nothing but contract cost. If you know the contract revenue, if you know the contract cost, then you can easily estimate the final outcome of the contract. Next, related to the revenue, one more thing he's talking. It is probable that the economic benefits associated with the contract will flow to the enterprise. And the next one more thing, always when you can recognize the contract revenue, certainty regarding the collection. At that point, never you should leave. Why? Because in throughout AS9 revenue recognition, we are always checking the one provision, sir, certainty regarding the collection exists, then we can recognize, otherwise postpone, right? Then what he is telling indirectly, it is probable that economic benefits associated with the contract will flow to the enterprise. So the revenue, which is actually the contract price, you can recoverable from the contractee. So which is nothing but it is probable that economic benefits associated with the contract will inflow to the enterprise. Okay. Now contract revenue measured reliably. Now the revenue, the probability to occur inflows to the enterprise. There is a probability to occur inflows to the enterprise. And the contract, total contract cost to complete the contract also estimated reliably. And concentrate. The stage of contract completion at the reporting date can also be measured reliably. We can able to measure percentage of completion also. We can able to measure how much percentage of completion is over. Sir, if you're unable to measure how much percentage is over, then you cannot apply the percentage of completion anywhere. So that's why he added that point as well. And the contract cost attributable to the contract can be clearly identified and measured reliably. So out of the total cost related to the specific contract cost, how much is attributable? You can also reasonably estimatable. What he is telling, when we can apply the percentage of completion method, when you can able to reliably estimate the outcome of the contract, then you can apply the percentage of completion method for the purpose of recognizing the contract revenue in a particular accounting period. Now, when you can treat reasonably estimate the outcome of the contract, if the following conditions are satisfied in case of fixed price contract. In case of fixed price contract, if the following conditions are satisfied, then you can assume that we can reasonably estimate the outcome of the contract. What are such things? Condition number 1, contract revenue. We can measure the contract revenue. We can measure the contract revenue reliably. Am I right? And it is probable that inflows associated with the contract, that is coming to the entity, inflows related to the contract will coming to the entity. Am I right? And related to the contract cost, contract cost also we should measure. This is related to the total contract cost. Is talking about the total contract cost should be measured reliably. Along with that, we can also measure percentage of completion. Now we can able to measure the percentage of completion. Sir, if you're unable to measure the percentage of completion, you are unable to apply the percentage of completion method for the purpose of recognition of revenue. That one known to us. Next, contract cost attributable, that is contract expenses. I mean to say contract expenses attributable to contract cost related to a specific accounting year. You have to know the total contract cost attributable to the contract can be clearly identified and measured reliably. Okay, so if you know all such facts, then we can assume that we can reasonably estimate the outcome of the contract. Then we can apply the percentage of completion. Now coming to the other method, that is, what is the other method? Cost plus contract. In case of cost plus contract, when we can assume the outcome of the contract reliably estimate, when we can assume the outcome of the contract reasonably estimate, when we can know out of the 4 conditions, only 2 conditions need to follow. It is probable that economic benefits associated with the contract will flow to the enterprise. That is point number 2. And the contract cost attributable to the contract, whether or not specifically reimbursable, can be clearly identified and measured reliably. That is, contract cost should be measured reliably. That is point number 3. So no need about contract revenue, no need about point number 4. You know why? Sir, here we don't know the contract revenue initially. In case of cost plus contract, we never know the contract revenue initially. Why? Because here the only important factor is contract price. That's why he only discussed about the contract price. Sir, that is revenue will be, there is a probability to come such inflows to the entity, and the contract cost is measured reliably, then automatically we know that outcome of the contract we can estimate. That is the thing, more than enough in case of cost plus contract. Okay. Now coming to here, sir, if you cannot apply the percentage of completion, sir, why we are all discussing such all things? When we have to apply the percentage of completion, why we are talking about the percentage of completion? For the purpose of recognition of the contract revenue in a particular accounting period. How much? So on the total contract revenue, if you apply the percentage of completion, then you can simply know the contract revenue to be recognized in an accounting period. But if you're unable to apply the percentage of completion method due to unable to estimate the outcome of the contract, then contract revenue to be recognized is equal to, in a particular accounting period, then contract revenue in an accounting period is equal to contract cost incurred. Contract cost incurred. Contract cost incurred in that period. One more thing, guys. Here you have to observe one more thing. You should recognize the contract revenue in that case, at least to the extent of the contract cost, if and only if there is a probable to recover such amount from the contractee. There is a probability to recover contract cost from contractee. Then only you can recognize at least to the extent of contract cost as a contract revenue in that particular accounting period. Now let me continue the discussion, guys, all of you. AS7 provides that percentage of completion method should not be applied if the outcome of a construction contract cannot be estimated reliably. In such cases, revenue should be recognized only to the extent of contract cost incurred of which recovery is probable. Contract cost should be recognized as an expense in the period in which they are incurred. Just is talking about anyway contract cost, how much contract cost we are recognizing in a particular accounting period, that is to the extent of the actual contract cost. Simply he is telling that if you are unable to estimate the outcome of the contract, you should not apply the percentage of completion. Then to the extent of the contract cost incurred only you can recognize the contract revenue. That's why there is no profit, no loss. There is no profit, no loss. But at least there is a probability to recover to the extent of the contract cost should exist. Then only you can recognize the contract revenue with respect to the same amount of contract cost at least. Okay. Now all of you please observe the essence of the case I am telling you. The final conclusion part I am telling you. All of you please concentrate. What is the conclusion? Conclusion here I am drawing. Conclusion is, sir, how to calculate contract profit or loss for accounting period, for an accounting period, for an accounting period is the question. For that purpose, you require two things. For that purpose, you require two things. That is contract revenue to be recognized, to be recognized in that period minus actual contract cost incurred, actual contract cost incurred in that period. Am I right? So to recognize the profit or loss, contract profit or loss with respect to an accounting period, you have to know the two components, that is contract revenue to be recognized in a particular period as well as actual contract cost incurred in that period. Now, sir, how you can know contract revenue to be recognized in a particular accounting period? I can know in two ways. I can know in two ways. Just now we read those two ways. What are those two ways? We can know by percentage of completion method, percentage of completion. Another one, others. So that others means if you are unable to apply the percentage of completion, just I'm telling it as a other method. So now, if you are able to apply the percentage of completion method, when you can apply the percentage of completion method, when outcome is final outcome of contract reliably estimate. When you can choose the other method, outcome. If it doesn't know our outcome, we are unable to reliably estimate. Am I right? Then how you can know the contract revenue? The contract revenue is, in that case, total contract revenue into. So till now I didn't discuss it, but just now I'm telling you how we are going to calculate that percentage of completion. Here I'm telling you how you should recognize the revenue related to that particular period. Still, I'm not discussing how to calculate the percentage of completion. At later discussion, I will discuss. That is total contract revenue into percentage of completion. Here, sir, in case the outcome of the contract is unable to measurable, if the outcome of the contract is unable to measure, then how much contract revenue you can recognize? To that extent of contract cost incurred in that period. This is the overall conclusion given by me, guys. So this much of process you have to check to calculate the contract profit or loss to be recognized for a specific accounting period. That is contract revenue related to that specific period, actual contract cost incurred. Sir, contract revenue to be recognized in the particular period. If outcome of the contract estimated reliably, apply the percentage of completion, total contract revenue into percentage of the completion. Sir, if you are unable to estimate the outcome of the contract, then you can apply the other method, which is nothing but to the extent of the contract cost incurred that specific accounting period is you can treat it as a contract revenue. Then the difference is nothing but contract profit or loss to be represented in a specific accounting period. Now the next question coming into your mind, I know, sir, how to calculate this percentage of completion, sir? Then how to calculate this percentage of completion? Now all of you please observe here, guys. Methods for calculation of percentage of completion. Methods for calculation of percentage of completion. So standard is little bit technical. I'm giving the best efforts to explain the each and everything, guys. Please all of you understand. Methods for calculation of percentage of completion. AS7 prescribes 3 methods. AS7 prescribes 3 methods for calculation of percentage of completion. Method number 1 is, under method number 1, how we are going to calculate the percentage of completion is cost incurred till date. That is contract cost incurred till date divided by total estimated contract cost to complete the contract. So the percentage of completion is nothing but contract cost incurred till date. Sir, up to now, how much contract cost incurred divided by total estimated contract cost to complete the contract, then you will get how much percentage of the work completed. In another method, that is, I can tell it as method number 2, or you can term it as a survey method as well. Survey method. The name itself is survey method. In case of survey method, how you can know the percentage of completion? A surveyor will be appointed. A surveyor means the person who is in generally having that civil engineering knowledge. He is having certain measurements. He is, by using the technology, he can easily identify how much percentage was completed. Okay, that is completely a technical evaluation process. So surveyor will be appointed, right? That is based on report given by surveyor. Based on report given by surveyor, guys. Surveyor. Next, and the last method is method number 3, which is physical proportion method. Physical proportion method means, for example, if it is a 3-stored building, out of the 3-stored, 1 store was completed. So remaining you have to build 2 stores, right? 1/3 was completed, which is nothing but physical proportion method. So out of these 3 methods, for our academics, which method we are going to use? Always method number 1. Why? Because calculation part is there under method number 1. For all our problems in the examination, we are always using method number 1. If they are directly giving the percentage of completion, either survey method or physical proportion method, most of your work was reduced. That's why in generally they are not adopting the survey method or physical proportion method coming into academics. Okay, come back here, guys. Now all of you check here. Methods used for percentage of completion. The proportion that contract cost incurred for work performed up to the reporting date bear to the estimated total contract cost. Simply is telling that contract cost incurred up to the reporting date, that is contract cost incurred till date, till reporting date, till reporting date, divided by total estimated contract cost to complete the contract, the estimated total contract cost, then you will get the percentage of completion under method number 1. Surveys of work performed. So surveyor will give the report. completion of physical proportion of the contract work, that is based upon the physical proportion. Okay, like this we will calculate the percentage of completion. Sir, once you know the percentage of completion, you will apply such percentage of completion on total contract revenue. Then you will know the contract revenue to be recognized in that specific accounting period. Then you will compare with the actual contract cost incurred in that period. Then you will get contract profit or loss to be recognized in that specific accounting period in the statement of profit and loss account. It will be recognized in where? Statement of P&L. Like this, if you have a numerous contracts, you should calculate how much profit or loss deriving from each and every contract in that specific accounting period. Then you will club for all those contracts. Then you can show under the statement of profit and loss account. Understand, guys? Okay. The next thing. Here, one important thing actually I ignored intentionally. Now let me read point number 4. When the uncertainties that prevented the outcome of the contract being estimated reliably ceases to exist, first you are unable to calculate the outcome of the contract for this accounting period. That's why to the extent of contract cost incurred only you recognize in the current accounting period. But in the next year, you are able to reliably estimate the outcome of the contract. Then at that point of time, you can apply the percentage of completion. Simply is telling that uncertainties that prevented the outcome of the contract being estimated reliably cease to exist. That means now you can reliably estimate the outcome of the contract. Then revenue and expenses associated with the construction contract should be recognized by the percentage of completion method. So that point you can easily understand. And one more thing here you have to remember, sir, if in case the outcome of the contract, if you are unable to reliably estimate, then what procedure you adopted for the purpose of recognition of the revenue? If you are unable to estimate the outcome of the contract, then to the extent of the contract cost incurred only you recognized in the you recognized as a contract revenue in that specific accounting period, provided it is probable to recover to the extent of contract cost from the contractee. Okay. Then guys, all of you please concentrate here. Now you are having a little bit of idea that how in generally we are going to calculate the contract profit or loss related to a specific accounting period. Now we will discuss some important aspects, guys, related to both contract revenue and contract cost. Both contract revenue and contract cost. I will discuss in the next video lecture. I'm going to discuss in the next video lecture what exactly the meaning of contract revenue. Here I used the word contract revenue, right? What exactly the meaning of contract revenue? What exactly the meaning of contract cost? Or what are the components we can include in the contract revenue? What are the components we can include in the contract cost? First we will discuss. Okay, so once the discussion is over related to the aspects of contract revenue and contract cost, then we will discuss some important provisions that if contract cost exceeds the contract revenue, then what are the consequences? And certain all other important provisions, 2 to 3 provisions we will discuss, then AS7 will be over. So up to this, I only discussed very few things. That is the first and foremost thing, the objective of introduction of AS7. That is for the purpose of providing accounting treatment related to contract revenue and contract cost, and majorly how the contract revenue is going to split in the various accounting periods. For that purpose only AS7 is introduced. This standard is only applicable to contractor but not to the contractee. And the next thing we discussed about recognition of the contract revenue. That is, we discussed about recognition of the contract revenue. That is before that types of contracts also we discussed, that is fixed price contract and cost plus contract. A fixed price contract is nothing but contract price will be decided initially and the escalation clause will also form part of the contracts. In case of cost plus contract, contract price will not be decided initially. It is completely depending upon the cost incurred. On such cost, you can apply certain percentage of the profit. Then we explained things related to the recognition of the contract revenue related to a particular accounting period. You can apply the percentage of completion method. But when you can apply the percentage of completion method, if the outcome of the contract can be estimated reliably. If you are unable to estimate the outcome of the contract, then to the taxation of the contract cost incurred in that specific accounting period only treated as a contract revenue, provided if you are able to recover such amount from the contractee or the customer. Now, in case of percentage of completion method, how you can calculate contract revenue? That is total contract revenue into percentage of completion. That is the total contract revenue into percentage of completion. How you can calculate the percentage of completion? There are three methods exist. That is under method number 1, the formula is contract cost incurred till the reporting date divided by total estimated contract cost to complete the contract. Another method is survey method. Another method is physical proportion method. Now here, when you can treat as outcome of the contract is estimated reliably, that is for fixed price contract, if you recognize the contract, if you measure the contract revenue and contract cost reliably, and it is probable that inflows will coming to the entity and a contract expenditure attributable to the contract cost also measured reliably. But in case of the cost plus contract, if you can fulfill the two conditions, that is more than enough to set to be estimate of the estimate, we can easily estimate the outcome of the contract. Okay, then in the next coming video lectures, we are going to discuss about the components in the contract revenue and the components in the contract cost and certain other provisions as well. So once we finish such other provisions, then we can entering into the problems. So a lot of discussion is going to happen in the next video lecture as well. So hope you can understand the basic structure of AS7. So with the remaining content, we will meet up in video lecture number 2. Until bye, have a nice day.